Hi everyone, this is Yana Smakula for SimonsSTM.com. Welcome back for another Yippee for Yana video. In this episode, we're going to talk about grids and using grids as well as repetition to create fun handmade cards. I'm going to focus on Easter projects today, but this technique, this principle, this layout can be applied to any other cards, any other occasions that you want. So let's go ahead and get started. Here's a look at the stamp set I will be using for my projects. It's the Eggstra special set from Simon. There's also a set of coordinating dies available that go really well with these images and allow you to cut these cute little Easter chicks out. I have done some planning ahead of time and I created a little cheat sheet for myself. So here I have some printer paper, I've stamped some test chicks and I've colored them and I've cut them out, not using coordinating dies, but rather my scissors to have individual elements to be able to play with them and create different arrangements, different grids on my card. So I'm going to walk you through the process and show you a couple of ideas of different grid layouts that you can do when you have a smaller element for your card. So when you have a small element, a small little critter or a geometrical image or a flower, anything, it could be anything you want, you can repeat that element several times to have a little grid. So we just did a 2x3 grid. We can also do a 2x2 grid and have a sentiment at the bottom. Or we can do a 3x3 grid and have a sentiment run across, or replace one of the images with a sentiment, or have one row with just two images and place those in the center to have a wonky type of grid. Or here we can do a 3x3, but then remove one of the images and replace that with a sentiment. I love making grid cards and I love using small images for that. So in this video, I'll show you 4 card ideas using the cute little chicks from this stamp set. And I hope you'll join me and create some fun Easter cards, or maybe pull out a similar stamp set from your stash and create a, any occasion card that you like. I'm first going to do some stamping. We definitely need to stamp some images, and I'm going to pick a few that I like the most from this stamp set. We have quite a lot of different chicks. I'm not going to use all of them. I just want to have the chicks without without decorations or without additional objects. So I have a chick with a flower, then I have a chick that's sort of like running or dancing or jumping. Well, actually 2 chicks that are running and dancing. I have one chick with the bunny ears. I have one chick that has just cracked from an egg, and I have one more with a little tutu. So I'm going to stamp these images using Memento TUXEDO black ink. I'm stamping these onto Neenah Solar White 80-pound cardstock. I have my panel cut to 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. It's placed inside my mini MISTI stamping tool, and I'm just going to stamp several panels because I want to have a bunch of those images so that I have enough, because I don't want to make just one card. I want to make several cards, and these are easy to make, so why not make a bunch right away? With the stamping done, we're going to do some coloring. And the coloring today is, as always, super simple. I am using Copic markers, and I'll show you how I color each element, but I won't show the repetitive coloring. Overall, I think it took me about 10 minutes to color the 3 panels with 9 chicks on each panel. To color the chicks yellow, I used Y35. This was my darkest yellow, or my shadow yellow. Next, I used Y15 and I extended that yellow a little bit further. Then I used Y13 and I circled my chick using that color. And then finally, my lightest color was Y11. So you can see I have a little bit of the shading on the left and a little bit of a highlight in the center. Next, I used YR04 and Y17 to create the orange feet and the orange beak. To color the egg, I didn't want the egg to be white. Instead, I wanted it to have a little bit of color. I used YR00. This is my shadow color. E00. This is my medium color. And E000 as my lightest color. In some cases, I came in with a colorless blender and I blended that highlight in the center a bit more to have an almost invisible color transition. I also used RV02 and RV00 to color the flower on that cute little chick with a flower. I decided to go back to the Easter egg and I added some little dots using the YR00. I wanted to have some specks on that particular egg. I didn't color all of the eggs like that, but just this one. And I wanted to show you this in detail. I also used E00 to add more dots, more specks. And then finally, I used a white jelly roll pen to add some white dots or white specks onto the egg. The tutu was colored using RV02 and RV00, the same colors as I used to color the flower. I'm sticking to a limited color palette here. I'm not using a bunch of markers. I'm trying to repeat or reuse the same markers on different images. Next, I used C7 to color the bow, and then C5, C3, and C1 to color the bunny ears. These bunny ears were a little bit too dark, and for the other two images, I skipped using the C5 and just used the C3 and C1 markers to have lighter gray bunny ears. I also used the R00 to color the pink inside the ears. So here's a look at my panels, all colored and all done, and all I need to do now is just grab my dies and cut these images out. It didn't take long, and here I have a desk filled with adorable little bunnies, and I can start playing and start creating and start planning my little grid designs. I wanted to use colored cardstock, so you'll see me incorporate some colored cardstock panels or colored cardstock card bases into my cards today. So here are my pre-planned cards. I haven't adhered anything yet. I'm going to start working on that now. So for each card, I have a little grid and then a sentiment pre-selected. I'm going to stamp the sentiment first and then adhere my images in place. I'm popping the card bases inside my mini MISTI stamping tool. So this is a Sea Glass card base by Simon Says Stamp. And I'm going to use black ink. I'm switching to a different ink. This is the Clair black, and going to stamp the sentiments. I have already added foam adhesive squares to the back of my die kits, and now I'm just going to remove the backer and adhere those in place. I love to add dimension to my cards, and you will always see me use foam adhesive squares to add images onto a background. Now, if you don't have coordinating dies, you can easily recreate these cards without the dies, but you won't be able to use colored cardstock for the background. You can just simply stamp these onto the background and then color them on the background without cutting them out. For my next card, I stamped You Crack Me Up sentiment. Here I have a smaller panel, so I believe this one was cut to 3.5 inches by 4 3/4 inches, and I foam mounted this onto the Simon Says Stamp cream card base. All of my cards are A2, so they measure 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. I'm using white fun foam and adding this from the back of the panels that I'm popping up. I love to do this. I love to add a solid layer of fun foam whenever I can, as this helps my cards stay nice and flat, and this prevents the panels from sagging. I also adhere that panel at an angle just to add some interest. For this next card, I'm using a green card base and I'm stamping Easter Greetings sentiment. I cut this sentiment in half using scissors just because I wanted to alter it and make it work better for this particular card. And once again, I'm using foam adhesive squares and foam mounting my little chicks, creating a 3x3 grid. For my last card, I stamped Easter Greetings, so the same sentiment, but I put it back together. I have another panel here. This is cut to 4 by 5 1/4 inches. I'm adding another layer of fun foam from the back and going to have another 3x3 grid. This time, this is a full grid and the sentiment is just placed at the bottom. We have multiple versions of grid cards in this video. So we have a 3x3, we have a 2x2, we have another 3x3 with a slight alteration, and then we have a 2x3 grid design. These are super fun to make, and you can use either similar images like I'm doing here, so all of the chicks are similar, some are the same, or you can use the same image and just do it in a different color. For example, if you have a little die cut, like a little die cut heart, you can die cut the heart from different colors of cardstock and have a little grid design similar to this, but create the variety in images by using different colors. So you can either use different or similar images or use the same image and change up the color to have it look interesting on your finished card. I didn't add any embellishments to my cards because I felt they were fun as is and I didn't think I needed to, but I did add shading under each of my checks using a C1 Copic marker. So here's a look at my finished cards. I love the way that they turned out, and I had so much fun making these little grids with the checks from the Eggstra Special Stamp Set by Simon Says Stamp. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this video and feel inspired to create. Love you guys, and I'll see you again next time.
I'm Heidi, Simon's mama and founder at SimonsSaysStamp.com. Thank you so much for watching our video. If you like what you just saw, be sure to press the thumbs up and subscribe to see more great content.